Look closely at any symbol of enduring success, and you will likely spot a familiar crown on their wrist. Rolex dominates the luxury watch market, holding unquestioned authority as the global benchmark for elite achievement. But the foundation of this multi-billion-dollar empire started with exactly zero capital. In 1893, a 12-year-old German boy named Hans Wilsdorf lost his parents. Shortly after, the small inheritance they left him was stolen while he was traveling, leaving him entirely destitute. As he entered the workforce, the global watchmaking industry was centered on the pocket watch. While wristwatches existed, the public widely mocked them, viewing them as fragile, inaccurate accessories meant only for women. Wilsdorf observed a different reality. As the world modernized with trains and omnibuses, travelers needed a practical way to check the time in a chaotic environment, without digging through their heavy coats to find a pocket watch. He bet his entire future on the wristwatch. To brand his new venture, he combined different letters until he found a name that was short, looked perfectly balanced on a watch dial, and was easy to pronounce in any language: Rolex. Lacking the funds to build a traditional factory, Wilsdorf focused his energy on a more difficult task, proving that the standard pocket watch was an outdated tool for the 20th century traveler. To change that perception, he first had to solve a glaring mechanical flaw. Early wristwatches could not keep accurate time because their internal gears, known as the movement, were simply too small to function with precision. Wilsdorf obsessed over the science of horology, working closely with expert Swiss manufacturers to design a custom, highly accurate miniature movement. He submitted this new design to Switzerland's official chronometer testing institute. It passed their rigorous tests, becoming the first wristwatch in history to receive a chronometer certificate, an official document proving its precision. An unexpected proving ground arrived shortly after, with the outbreak of the First World War. Wilsdorf rapidly adapted, supplying the military with specialized trench watches. For soldiers operating in muddy trenches, a pocket watch was a liability. Coordinating artillery fire and troop movements required split-second timing, which was impossible if a soldier had to lower his rifle to check the hour. When the conflict ended, citizens saw their returning war heroes wearing wristwatches. The old stigma of the fragile accessory vanished, replaced by the image of a rugged survival tool. Yet a second vulnerability remained. Early watch cases were built by snapping the top and bottom pieces together. This design left microscopic gaps, allowing dust and water to enter and destroy the delicate internal gears. This schematic shows how Rolex engineers solved the problem. They threw out the snap-on design and built the world's first screw-on mechanism, utilizing precise grooves and rubber rings to tightly lock the components together. Finally, the winding crown sealed the entire body shut, functioning like a heavy hatch on a submarine. Wilsdorf named this impenetrable case the Oyster in 1926. Wilsdorf knew that printing a technical claim in a newspaper would not convince the public. A revolutionary engineering feat requires a public spectacle to prove it actually works. He learned about Mercedes Gleitz, a young athlete attempting to swim across the English Channel. Wilsdorf hired her as the first brand ambassador to wear the Oyster during her swim. She spent 10 brutal hours battling the freezing water before exhaustion forced a rescue. She did not finish the crossing, but the Rolex Oyster strapped to her necklace was examined by the press and found to be in perfect working condition. Wilsdorf displayed that proof on city streets. By placing the watches in live fish tanks in his shop windows, he forced every passerby to see the engineering survive the elements in real time. Even with a sealed case, the watch had a lingering vulnerability. Because it was entirely mechanical, users still had to manually unscrew the crown every 2 days to wind the mainspring. This introduced human error. If a customer wound their watch and forgot to screw the crown back in tightly, water could easily seep into the waterproof case. To remove human error from the equation, Wilsdorf developed the Perpetual Rotor. As shown in this cutaway animation, the device is a semicircular weight that rotates 360 degrees inside the watch. This weight transfers kinetic energy from the natural movement of the wearer's wrist through a series of gears to automatically tighten the spring. By eliminating the need to constantly open the case for winding, the Rolex Oyster Perpetual became a fully sealed, self-sustaining system. Wilsdorf had now completed his formula for brand value. He paired precise in-house engineering with relentless, real-world extreme proving grounds. He applied this formula vertically. When mountaineers successfully summited the highest point on Earth, they wore the Rolex Explorer, proving the watch could withstand extreme cold and altitude. He then conquered the depths. An experimental Rolex was strapped to the exterior of a submersible and sent 11,000 meters down into the ocean, surviving immense pressure that would crush a submarine. Over 50 years of these extreme public tests gave Rolex something its competitors lacked: absolute brand authority. That historical authority paved the way for modern Rolex to move up market, transitioning the brand from a military and diving tool into the world's most recognizable luxury status symbol. Because the prestige is deeply baked into their history, Rolex can operate with complete economic dominance today. They strictly control their supply, command zero price sensitivity from their buyers, and remain a fixture on the wrists of global leaders. Wilsdorf's empire was the result of a 50-year iterative process. He realized that to create lasting desire, a watchmaker first has to build something that is impossible to break.